Early engagement is one of the biggest things that I'd say is really important, because that makes it genuine. Like, don't just bring them in the late stages of river and it's just not going to be genuine. So early engagement makes it more meaningful, moving past the metrics, not just how many homes are built, but the quality of the homes, thinking about what's important to people, which is the affordability of the homes and the range of tenures available, and about the social infrastructure around that. One of my favourite days was that we went down on site to the north side of the park where the cafe is, which used to be called Timber Lodge. So before it was even there, it was just tarmac, and we were on a construction site in our hard hats with the architects. So now it's like a park community cafe that hosts family parties, but also like community groups use that space. It's got an adjacent tumbling playground, so that it's a really family friendly and welcoming cafe. And I feel like every time I go over, I'm like, we did that.
Hello, I'm Toby Fox from 1.5 Million New Homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Redloft and by Vistry. And I'm visiting a different council every month to ask what works and what has to change to get more homes built. But not this month, because of the local elections, which mean that we can't talk to councils for a while. So instead, we've come to the London Legacy Development Corporation to find out about the 6,000 homes that they're building in Stratford in East London. And building homes is only part of the job. You've also got to build a great place for people to live. And the LLDC has paid particular attention to asking young people what sort of place that might be. So we've come to talk to Gabrielle Appiah about her work as a board member, and going all the way back to her original role with the LLDC on their Elevate Youth Board.
My name's Gabrielle, and I am a board member at London Legacy Development Corporation. I feel like, from my perspective, having been involved since 2011, since before the Games, I can say that LLDC is kind of really intentional about the engagement that it goes about with young people. I joined in 2011, but the youth board existed from 2008. Long before the Games, they were thinking about the legacy, the regeneration plan, and how young people were going to be involved and shape that. And we were involved in not just the individual plans themselves, the overall strategies for how the park was going to come forward, kind of what the priorities were going to be, then the master plans. So thinking on coming out a different lens, looking at the park as a whole, and then also on individual plans. And there was a whole upskilling programme that came with that. So we would meet with the chief execs of LLDC and the senior leadership team to understand what each of their job roles were and how all of the pieces fitted together. We'd meet with architects to understand kind of the remit that they have in terms of design, and it was just really helpful to understand all of the parts that come together to create a place, and that then helped with our understanding of how we could then explain what we wanted to see.
And set the scene for us, like, how old were you at that time, and what else were you doing?
So I was 16, and that was kind of the age bracket of a lot of the other young people on the youth board. And we were representatives from all of the Olympic Coast boroughs. So I was Tower Hamlets, proudly, and we also had Hackney and Walthamstow and everything. So it was just an amazing way to bring together young people from different boroughs that wouldn't necessarily engage with each other otherwise, on kind of thinking about our future and our future on the park.
But it must have been a sort of foreign language. So you're 16 years old and you're talking to architects and urban planners about the future of an Olympic park and offices and homes and all sorts of other stuff. Like, how do you actually engage with that as a 16-year-old? Doesn't it just sort of bounce off you a bit?
I would say that that's exactly what they combated from the outset. Yeah. So when we met with the architects, they used a cake to talk to us about density and about layout and to how you break up spaces and get to and from places. Like, the way that they explained everything helped us understand it, and then we could use their language to express how we felt as young people and how we felt our neighbourhoods were and what we wanted to see come forward.
And what can you point out that came forward that was shaped by young people, by Elevate, by yourself?
One of my favourite days was that we went down on site to the north side of the park where the cafe is, which used to be called Timber Lodge. So before it was even there, it was just tarmac, and we were on a construction site in our hard hats with the architects, and they had these ginormous cardboard tubes, and so they used that to give us the parameters of the building and said, this is going to be a cafe. In this setting, express what you think this should provide for local people and things like that. And we kind of drew out some of the rooms and how they could be used in different ways. And so now it's like a part community cafe that hosts family parties, but also like community groups use that space. It's got an adjacent tumbling blade playground, so that it's a really family friendly and welcoming cafe. And I feel like every time I go over, I'm like, we did that.
That's fantastic. And tell us a bit about your journey then, because you're now a professional planner. Back then you were a 16-year-old student. So how did that happen?
I'd say that from understanding all of the different roles that there are within the built environment, I was came to realise that I really like town planning, and a lot of the other youth board members have ended up moving into the built environment industry from that kind of cohort. As time has gone on, there's been more of a focus on kind of building your confidence in speaking and leadership skills and everything like that. And so people have branched off outside of the industry. But I feel like regardless of where you're developing, a huge amount of built environment professionals descend on a place when there's regeneration happening, and people need to know that that industry exists beyond just the construction and things like that, and that level of upskilling and raising awareness in local schools and things like that all came as part of what happened here on the park. It was really great going from kind of the recruitment event for the Legacy Youth Board, which was an interactive play about what would happen to the park if no local people were involved, and I was like, this is amazing.
That was your kind of interview.
That was my route in. And then I guess as more and more people were coming to us as a board to engage us on the different plans for the park, I started to become more curious about who was helping us be involved directly. And so I literally asked the director of the community engagement consultation company, how did you get to where you are now? Can I have an internship? And that was my route in. And then the more and more I was part of it, I understood that we were like a core part of the kind of planning process. And I was like, okay, so it's planning. This is what I'm interested in. And went on to study town planning up in Sheffield, and have come back and always specialised in stakeholder engagement. The whole process, I think, builds different skills that are transferable. So it's not necessarily that it has to be a direct route into built environment, but just by empowering young people to have a say, I think that all of us on the board have really benefited and ended up, going on and doing well because we feel heard, and we just feel like we can do things.
And you mentioned some of the kind of committees and the way in which different people have been involved in different ways in shaping the Olympic Park. What other resources are important in that process, and why?
I think that a lot of benefit has come out of the park, but the way that everything has come about has been documented in things like the inclusive design standards and the handbook for creating places that work for women and girls. And also the post-occupancy evaluation has been a way that we've looked back on ourselves and assessed how well we've done based on how our local residents experience the park. So I think all of these tools are really, really helpful for any developer going forward, that they can draw on that. There's no point reinventing the wheel if someone's done it and can give you that that guidance. I think is really handy.
So give us some hot insights from all of those tools. What is it we need to know? What should have been done differently? Those are obviously the biggest lessons.
I'd say that for the inclusive design standards, there's just loads in there in terms of designing spaces that by designing for the most vulnerable person then becomes even more accessible for everyone.
Right.
So thinking about the way that parents with prams move through spaces, and having our built environment access panel and having wheelchair users as part of that group, and sharing their insights and how things could work best, all of that feeds into those inclusive design standards. And so you're getting lived experience and professional guidance in one place, and hopefully other developers take these things forward and we just see better places all around.
So what's the best thing about being in planning?
Well, the thing about it is I studied town planning, and I was like, I absolutely love the whole idea of like making places, and but because of how I came into it, I was just obsessed with the idea of involving people, and so I've always specialised in that, and yeah, so the last 6 years, even though I studied town planning, I've specialised as a stakeholder engagement consultant and tried as far as I can to make sure that people from diverse backgrounds and representative groups of people are involved in shaping the places that they live, work and...
And what about the toughest things though? There must be challenges involved in doing what you do.
Absolutely. So there are always going to be difficult conversations when it comes to change. I think it's just about building trust with people and showing that their feedback is being considered, even if things can't be taken on board. I think it's about setting expectations for what is possible, obviously in practical terms, and then being able to work within that and show people that what they are saying is influencing things. And I think just like the standards that come with that, like the being transparent and having a feedback loop with people, is what I've kind of taken away from the way that the park did their engagement and tried to do in my everyday work as well. What I've really enjoyed on a lot of my projects is when you go back out into the community with like, you're able to show and visualise what has come about from what they've said. And we did an engagement on the park in the aquatic centre, which was incredible. It had a model, and it kind of showed visually how the development had changed based on the feedback that was given. So it took it to another level. You're right, just writing it down isn't enough. You need to engage, you need to speak to people and have that kind of contact.
So what advice would you have for young people out there who are wondering what to do with their lives? What would you say to them?
I'd say I shopped around a lot. So I actually did some work experience with the town planning team, landscape architecture team. Find out what you don't like. Yeah. Ask the questions. Yeah. Don't be shy. Like, this is the time to kind of explore your opportunities. And yeah, when you find out what you don't like and you find out what you do, really hone down on that. And I've kind of had tunnel vision on this whole like stakeholder engagement journey that I've been on. And it's great to be an expert in your field and to be passionate about it and always. I feel like always remember where you came from. I feel like I'm constantly working with diversity groups on making sure there's representation for women in the industry and for BAME groups in the industry. And I think as much as I've kind of entered the world of the built environment, always trying to make it as representative of the community that I know as possible. And get a mentor. That's a huge
How do you
help.
get a mentor? Go on, what's the best way to do that? How do you know they're going to be a good mentor?
A good mentor kind of gives you really constructive feedback and kind of champions you. Like, I've been really, really grateful for having someone look from the outside looking in onto kind of my working practices and things that I've been getting up to. And for example, when I was going through my like performance review, my mentor was like, that's not selling yourself enough. Someone who has got loads of industry experience will understand that what you're doing and how well you're doing it and be able to give you that kind of encouragement. And then I had a glowing review. So, you know, I feel like things like that, just ongoing conversations, make sure it's regular. Yeah. And
But there's something about understanding your value, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like other people understand it better than you do sometimes.
Yes, genuinely. And I think that is the biggest benefit of having a mentor that I've had, yeah.
So bigger picture again, in terms of the way that LLDC has gone about consultation and engaging with stakeholders, what is it that all the other development corporations that are being set up now all over the country, what is it that they should be learning from LLDC?
The corporation has been thinking about engagement long before things kicked off. Since 2008, games didn't happen until 2012. We're now looking into this legacy space. Early engagement is one of the biggest things that I'd say is really important, because that makes it genuine. Like, don't just bring them in the late stages of RIBA and it's just not going to be genuine. So early engagement makes it more meaningful, moving past the metrics, not just how many homes are built, but the quality of the homes, thinking about what's important to people, which is the affordability of the homes in the range of tenures available, and about the social infrastructure around that. And obviously we had the benefit of, we had the sporting venues here, that social infrastructure, the aquatic centre, the copper box, everything like that was already here. Community cafes were here. People could start to come into the space and feel a sense of ownership beyond the park. Yeah. Exactly, the park itself, the green and all of it. Feel a sense of ownership and then build from there. I think, just plonking homes in without thinking about that wider infrastructure is a really, really big part of it. And thinking, again, beyond the metrics, but thinking about the outcomes and health and well-being and sustainability, and not just about, the economic benefits of any given development. And then I think get a youth board. Obviously, I'm going to say that. Yeah. Get a youth board. But the other panels that we have here are the kind of quality review panel, the community review panel, and the built environment access panel as well. And all of those groups are made up of local residents or experts in their field in the quality review panel that are really scrutinising plans that are coming forward. And having sat on planning decisions committee, I think those levels of scrutiny are really important in holding us to account and delivering our vision. And by making those groups seem important to a developer, they take them seriously. So beyond my involvement, Elevate are now doing full co-design projects because the developer knows that when they come to committee, if you haven't engaged with that group, we're going to question you on it, and when that could be a material factor in whether or not you're getting permission. So I think we've talked to a couple of the members, and they can be pretty scary. Oh yeah,
they're serious.
It's great. Like, they are absolutely gunning for the best outcome for local young people.
So what kind of challenges have you come up against from local people about the development? What sort of things have people kind of bumped up against?
I think the UK-wide problem of affordability is obviously a huge one. We have our challenges in terms of delivering the levels of affordable housing that are required across the city. And I also think sometimes it's, as much as when you're involved, you feel like that it's been a great process. If you're outside of that and you suddenly see things popping up and you're not aware of it, you don't feel like people have been involved. So I think we could do more of screaming and shouting about how the sheer numbers of people that LLDC have ensured have been consulted and involved at every stage. And
do you think it's being a bit backward about coming forward and saying, look what we've done, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Because it's sort of boastful, isn't it? It's hard for an organisation to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So it needs to be more boastful. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll do a bit of that. We'll shout about it.
Great. I'm glad.
Gabrielle, thank you very much indeed for your role in 1.5 million new homes.
Thank you.
So that's it for another episode of 1.5 million new homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Redloft and by Vistry. But don't worry, we're going to be back with more from the LLDC in just a few days. So hit like and subscribe and you won't miss an episode, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.